A local daycare director arrested today for failing to report sexual abuse. The owner of Grandma's House Child Care Center in Vernia now faces charges along with two other people. Eyewitness News reporter Vanessa Croix joins us from the daycare, where she has been looking into the facility tonight.
Well, the owner of Grandma's House Child Care was arrested today along with three other people, but the Vernia Police Department isn't telling us much more. They'll only confirm that the three were arrested and charged for failure to report sexual abuse. Now, authorities say Stella Coates, better known as Sue, Douglas Coates, and Assistant Daycare Director Amanda Tatum were arrested this morning in Floresville. We're also learning tonight that the daycare was cited by the Department of Family and Protective Services for 18 deficiencies over the last 3 years, 7 of those rated as high. A year ago, they were in violation for not reporting a situation that put a child at risk, though the department didn't provide any other details about that situation. They also received other violations for slapping children's hands as a form of discipline, and the children were forced to do wall squats and run as a form of punishment. Well, we talked to a former employee of the daycare who asked that we not show her face, and she said she saw firsthand what she thought was inappropriate discipline.
And she's like, "You need to put your head down," and he kept saying no, so she kept repeatedly putting his head to the floor. Hearing that, I was just like, I should have said something to somebody and had it investigated.
And earlier today, the Child Care Center removed their sign, and no word yet if they'll be open for business tomorrow. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office told us that Stella and Douglas Coates, along with Amanda Tatum, are each being held on a $6,000 bond. Reporting in Vernia, Vanessa Croix, KENS 5 Eyewitness News.